ultimately, if I can just stick it out, this is going to be a test of my endurance and my persistence and my passion for this team. But I couldn't ever imagine starting a practice and going, oh, never mind. I'll see you guys later. Good luck at the Olympics, and walk out the door. I just couldn't do that. I just don't think it would be, that's not who I am. It's not really what I wanted, but there were days, boy, I thought about it for sure.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Laurie, thank you for being here today as a guest on the Leave It Better podcast. Laurie is such an accomplished volleyball coach, volleyball player, the winningest coach at Texas A&M. Overall, 25 years there, I think overall 35 years of collegiate coaching, AVCA Hall of Fame, 2 awards from USA Volleyball, Distinguished George L. Fisher Leader in Volleyball, and the Flo Hyman All-Time Great Player Award. Played on the U.S. Women's Olympic Team 1978 to 1984. And we're going to talk about a couple of those years prior to that 78 season that Kathy DeBoer and I talked about. And Laurie was also a member of a 2-time national championship AIAW at Texas Lutheran College. And Olympic gold medalist in the 84 Olympics, played Major League Volleyball. Of that season, she was most valuable player in the first season, and also in the last season, she was voted as the most valuable player. Current role is with the Pro Volleyball Federation as Volleyball Operations Consultant. And we're just so happy to have you here today. What a treasure you are to the world of volleyball. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was really very, very accurate. You got the years right.
Hot dang.
Yay.
So we're going to kind of go all over, Laurie. So we'll get started. Let's go with, in the Pro Volleyball Federation, with your role. What kinds of things are you doing with the league, and how has that been going for this first year and all the newness with everything?
Well, I would say that when I first started in October of 2022, my main contributions were helping Cecile, the vice president for volleyball operations. That's who I've mostly worked with. So if she needed reviews of how we were going to do the rule book, we were probably going to follow FIVB rules, but we also knew that we could kind of do whatever we wanted in a sense. And so just discussions with other coaches that we would make phone calls to, find out what they think, get suggestions from all over the country, and then kind of work through that. Then I also talked to a lot of coaches that, not necessarily to recruit them to coach in the league. However, if they had an interest, that would certainly be really cool. But at the same time, they have their ideas of, we've all, to be honest, over 50 years have been wanting something like this to happen. And people have these, well, why don't they do it like this? Well, it's so easy to do it like that. And so we wanted to hear all of those thoughts from people that have been in the sport for especially a long time, but also it's changed so much that there's got to be a lot of new ideas from the younger generations. So that was a really fun part of getting to be a part of the staff and somewhat. However, as a consultant, I'm not privy to a lot of the business discussions or any of that, mostly volleyball operations. And that's how I kind of wanted it, because I don't do stress anymore. And so I don't do it anymore. And yet I'm happy to discuss what I would think if it was my deal, but so anyway, it's been a lot of learning process for me in terms of how they all come together, how it all comes together. But I've really enjoyed working with Cecile, of course, as does the world of volleyball. But also just getting to put in my 2 cents. I really had a great time when we went looking for a uniform supplier. And I went, one player from each squad went, which is a blast because you love being around the kids. That's what I miss so much is my players and that generation and that energy that they bring. And so a trip to Orlando and a trip to Dallas with these awesome players and people, and then getting to kind of learn how they are making uniforms these days. And it's all so new, but it's really fun to just have a little bit of say so or just contribution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I spoke with Cecile and I was just talking about, everybody's knowledge, like your experience. My God, your experience started as this phenomenal athlete in high school, then off to college, then picked up in that early year to, I think, do some scrimmaging up in Montreal in the 1976 where we didn't make the Olympic Games. And I do want to hear some of those stories, Laurie.
Oh.
And your time with the 80 and the 84 silver medal in LA, which I did get to see you in person there. I made that trip out. I did. It was just the most amazing thing. Let's just jump back for just a second on that experience level that you do bring, because as a player, as a coach, there's so much with you. But I'd love to hear a little bit about those very, very early days of I guess Chuck Irby coaching and maybe some of his philosophies, and you and Kathy being chosen as these phenomenal athletes to join that group, junior national team, to travel and compete against men's teams and some of the Olympic qualifiers, I guess, up in Montreal.
Oh, wow. It's almost like a different lifetime ago, but I also can remember it like it was yesterday, but it's so strange how that works. But so I was in high school at Berkner High School in Richardson, Texas. And my sister was a year older than me. One of my sisters, there's 4 girls, and we all are within 5 years. So we're all really close. The oldest never did volleyball, but then the second one did, the third one did, me, and the fourth one did. And so we were all played in high school together. And when she started it, and I was so mad at her when I got to the high school, my 10th grade year. She was already in the 11th grade, and she had worn a shirt that I got for my birthday without asking. And I was so mad at her. And I was like, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to come to the gym. I don't even want to see you. And the coach came and found me in the hallway and said, Laurie, please give me 1 week. Just give me 1 week in the gym trying volleyball. Because I ran track, I jumped, high jump, and sprinting. And that's the only sport I did. And so anyway, I said, okay, I'll come in. I'm not looking at league, but so I went in the gym and I loved it. I got addicted, that first week, and ended up staying and just going with Jan Briggs, my high school coach, who I just love and adore still. She was at Duncanville a long time after Berkner. But we went to the state championships all 3 years. Then that was like, oh, maybe this is something. Maybe this is something that I could do further, because I really didn't know what I want to do. I mean, who does? 17, 18. So I went to Junior Olympics or they were the AAUs in Chicago. I think Chuck was there. Chuck Irby was there and saw me play and asked me to come join the junior national team. And I was loving college. Now I'm in college. I'm a freshman. And I'm like, oh, this is too fun. I'm staying in college. Texas Lutheran is where it's at. It is fun. We're going to go win a national championship, because then it was AIAW, small college and large college. So that's what we were in, the small college category. So we did. We won that championship. And in 76, he called again and said, I really want you to come to Montreal while we're training and get a feel for the Olympics, because I think you have a future. And so I thought, do I leave school and go? And I don't know. But I thought, why not try it? It was July 4th, 1976. I got on an airplane by myself and headed to Montreal. And I had met the junior national girls. They had come through Richardson to play against us in an exhibition. So I knew Debbie Green and Sue Woodstra and Debbie Brown and Debbie Landreth, Carolyn Becker, all of that group. The Adidas is what we knew them as. And Paula Dittmer, she was my idol. She hit so hard. And I was like, what shoes is she wearing? Adidas Smash. I want those shoes. Look at her play. And I just loved her. And I loved Mary Jo Pepler with E Pluribus Unum in Pasadena. And when they came through, I saw her play and I couldn't even talk to her. I was so nervous to even walk up and say hello. But so those were really inspiring. That group, Adidas and Mary Jo, was my inspiration. And went to Montreal, and Kathy was the other one that was invited to join that group. And wow, first day I couldn't even walk. I was so we had a 4-hour practice, and then before lunch, before we had our hamburgers that I couldn't lift to my mouth, I was so tired. We had to run on the track. We had to run mile after mile for time. And I think they all had to run it with me after they were done because I was still on the track. And got in the, to eat a lunch and then rest before our next 4-hour practice. I couldn't even eat. I had no appetite. I had no strength. And so I remember they were laughing at me and making so much fun of me, but I was used to it. So those days.
It's a lot of sisters, right? A lot of sisters.
A lot of sisters. And then Kathy handled it beautifully. And we had to jump to the basketball rim. I'll never forget. He wanted to see who could touch 10 feet. And Kathy just flew. Like it took her half a minute to come down. I'm like, oh my God, I had never seen her play because I was in a different part of the country. And I was just like, look at that girl fly. I think she was touching like 10.5. And
my God. I didn't know it was that high. It was
amazing.
That's amazing.
I think she touched higher than anyone in the gym. And I was around 10. I could just touch the rim. I couldn't grab it yet. But anyway, it was it was amazing. I mean, we slept in a hallway at high school on blankets. Some of them got in the gymnastics room and slept in that, the gymnastics rooms on the mats. They made those their beds. And Ma Becker was our chef, our manager, but she made every meal in the school cafeteria. And school's out, so no kids were there. Obviously, it's the middle of summer, but they gave us their gym for free to use. So we used their cafeteria, we used their locker room, and that was our home for 6 weeks.
6 weeks? Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was 6 weeks. I thought 3, but 6. Holy goodness. I'm guessing you were in pretty good shape by the time you left there if you weren't broken.
Yes. Well, exactly. The beauty of it was we got to go, and like you said, we scrimmaged against, I think we got the Japanese. I know Russia said no. I'm trying to think of who else we got to scrimmage. But since I was so new, I didn't get to get on the court yet. I had no idea what they were doing. I just did whatever Chuck said. And whenever you're not on the court, Chuck had you on the sideline playing pepper. You couldn't even watch. So we would play, Kathy and I would play pepper, and then I would kind of, and I'd shank it and have to run after it. I was kind of a little, I don't know.
Yeah,
rebellious.
I love that.
Not rebellious, but just a little bit like I wanted a little more to it. So we would, we were running to go get the ball because you had to go together. Both players run after the ball.
Yeah.
We would watch as many rallies as we could and then kind of stroll back and play pepper again. But it was the philosophy was the more touches you get in any situation, the better you're going to be. So I really wanted to watch it, but I didn't, and I wasn't on the court at all. I hardly got in scrimmages either. I was but they don't scrimmage. They drill, train. So it was phenomenal. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. I think about all those sacrifices and all these situations that you went through as a beginner, not a beginner player, but just in the kind of the infancy of volleyball, really, as it's trying to get us into the Olympics and become what our athletes were capable of doing, but to have the kind of training and stuff to reach those goals.
Right.
Yeah. I think I had one more note on that. Kathy goes, I was just a massive bruise because rolling at that time, rolling was like every time you touched the ball,
every ball.
You were rolling it.
Roll on every ball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hips are paying a price now.
Yeah. Okay. Are they still all original, or do you have?
They're original. Yeah. Nothing replaced yet, but it might not be too long.
So,
but what I was also going to mention that the beauty was we got to go to the Olympic Games. They got tickets for us, and we got to sit and watch the nights that they were playing women's volleyball. Every other night, it's a women's night and a men's night. We didn't have to practice that night. We got to get dressed in our sweats and go to the games and just watch. It was so amazing. And from the opening, or just from the ceremony to begin a match to, watching the level of play, the speed of play, the physicality, and they were forever. They were side out scoring. So matches were 3 hours, 3.5. And then, we'd get home at midnight or 1 a.m., but we'd be up in the morning at our 8 o'clock practice. Yeah. And so, but just, that was when I really got my inspiration to go for the Olympics, is being able to see it in real life. And wow, that was phenomenal. So
when you made the Olympic program in 1978, is that Ari Selinger? Is it, who's the coach then? I feel like that's who it was.
Yes, it is. What happened was that junior team with Chuck Irby started to think, okay, we got to figure out how we're going to get to 1980. How are we going to get a group together from the United States? Well, there's this other team like Selinger, coached in Pasadena, Texas, called EPU, E Pluribus Unum. And they just, when they played together or against each other at the U.S. Open, the junior team won. So they decided we better get this group together. So in 1978, January 2nd, they said, Laurie, we want you to come and join. We're going to mesh. I did not stay with the junior Chuck's team after the Olympic, the 76 Montreal. I went back to college. Too much fun to be had.
Yes.
And a national championship to try and win again. And so I thought, they said, Laurie, Selinger called me and said, we're going to join Chuck Irby's group and our group, junior national team. That will be about 18, 20 players, maybe 24. I can't remember exactly, but we're going to add yourself and Rita Crockett if you'll come. And we're going to meet in Huntington Beach, California. We're going to train at Santa Fe Springs High School every night when everybody's left the school from 6 to 10. And we're going to try and make it our training center for 1980. We have 2.5 years. We got to get going. So I said goodbye to college.
Oh, you did?
And I promised myself I would get my degree, but I wouldn't get this chance again. It was my time to figure that out. Are you going to do this or not? And as well as all the others. So we all met Huntington Beach. Rita came and I came to join them. And we started training together. So Chuck and Ari were trying to lead practices together. However, they're night and day as coaches. So it was really challenging, but I didn't know any better. I knew Chuck a little bit better because I had done the Montreal issue, the Montreal summer. Yeah. But man, to have both of them, these amazing volleyball minds, just so different approaches, the different emphasis. I think I hyperventilated every practice the first 2 weeks. I got a paper bag and had to go outside and breathe. So my anxiety level was off the roof, And I didn't understand Ari Selinger's accent.
Oh, yes.
And they would have to, So instead of what size shoe do you need, it's what number? And he'd look down and point at your feet. What number? Like, well, you mean jersey? What? And they'd go, Laurie, that's shoe size. I just had to learn so much. And I had never really hit a one set, like a quick set in the middle. We set a little bit higher, set in the middle. And Oh my God, I had no clue. It was just, I was terrible. It was terrible. But they were so supportive, and Flo Hyman, she was the one that was always right in front of me of a drill and telling me, here's what's going to happen. We all just miss her and love her so much.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of the quest for 1980 qualification.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Some of those players' names. I pulled up a picture of that 80 team, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. But
oh yeah, I have it up in my house. Yeah. I love those guys.
Do you remember coming to Nebraska, Omaha, and scrimmaging? I think it was Peru at any point in time. Do you remember? I remember Flo. I remember Debbie Green. I remember Rita in there. Mm-hmm. You were there.
Uh-huh.
I was coaching there then.
You were?
That was my program. You guys came into our program there, and I remember this was such an honor to have you guys so close and to like touch and be there to watch. Yeah, one of my highlights. I think I have a couple pictures. Well, I have several. I should probably pull those up and share them with you sometime. But I had also, you mentioned Flo. I had taken a picture of her. The kind of that famous shot of her where she's hitting and her, she's extended up so high. Mm-hmm. And I put it on a T-shirt. And I wore that darn T-shirt a lot. Yeah, because she was such a role model. But anyhow. Well, I'm so glad you were there. Yeah, you walked into the field house.
Yeah, we used to, when those countries would come to America, Ari would find the teams that we had to play. Yeah. We had to get used to their style, their speed, the personnel, everything. And so we would do these tours around city to city to city around both countries. Mm-hmm. We'd come to America and do stops, and then we'd go to Peru and do stops, or Japan, or we didn't do this with Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a sore spot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Cuba. And so we got to know the players. So, it made it even more special. And of course, being in America, when they're on a bus headed to the gym, their eyes are glued to what's out there. Yeah. Shopping malls, beautiful restaurants, parks, green. Because so many of these players don't live in a country that looks like ours. Let's be real,
Right.
And they would just wow, like they were in Neverland, Yeah. It was really amazing. That as a young player and being exposed to international players, I was like, wow, they don't even. The first time I went to Europe or even to South America, it left a lasting impression on me. Daily, I still remember, Laurie, if you every day give thanks for what you have in America, every day, because these folks do not have it. And that's probably something I can say every day. I think of it. I do.
Yeah. What an exposure. I'm sure you were in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
So, the boycott, of course, 1980, I probably cried for a week. And I can't imagine how you all felt about that, and just all the work that you guys had done to get there, and then going into the '84 Olympics. What was that time like? I was kind of counting the players that stuck around. It was almost like 50-50. There were like 6 players that stayed.
Exactly.
And 6 new folks that came in. And so what were those 4 years like for you as a player, having gone through everything that you did prior to that time?
Yeah. I didn't know if I could do another 4 years, to be honest. I thought, this is really hard. I have no money. I have no job. My job is to play volleyball and to train, mostly to train. We spent 95% of our time was in a practice gym. Competition was like the icing on the cake, of course. And so, I thought, I'm 23. Do I want to do this or go back to college? And some of the girls, like you said, some of them that were a little older than me and had been doing it maybe before I joined, that when they brought both groups together, it was that was a tough decision. But then I thought, well, if Los Angeles is hosting, we're not boycotting our own Olympics. So I know that won't happen again. And you don't have to qualify. If the host country automatically has in, you're in. So I thought, Laurie, here's your dream come true. If you just can keep from getting kicked off the team, kicked out of a practice, which it didn't really happen to me. Maybe it should have once or twice. But ultimately, if I can just stick it out, this is going to be a test of my endurance and my persistence and my passion for this team. But I couldn't ever imagine starting a practice and going, oh, never mind. I'll see you guys later. Good luck at the Olympics, and walk out the door. I just couldn't do that. I just don't think it would be, that's not who I am. It's not really what I wanted, but there were days, boy, I thought about it for sure. And we moved our training. So from the 80 squad, after we had moved to the training center and we had gone full time living in barracks, Ari wanted us to move to LA and for 80 to 84 training. So we would be in that environment, and we would get used to that city and just anything it had to offer, which a lot of people would say to me later, oh, that's a bummer. You didn't get to travel to go play in the Olympics. And I'm like, no, we traveled all year. We traveled and trained all year, all over the world. I was so happy to eat American food and be and our families could be there so easily. I mean, it was amazing, the timing, how it worked in my career, actually, speaking for myself. But we trained. By then, Chuck Irby had left the program, and Ari Sellinger was our head coach. And we moved to Los Caballeros. It was like a health center with 3 volleyball courts, and they let us move in there. Not only move into the gym, but in 84, we had apartments nearby. But in 84, Sellinger says, I've got rumor that the Japanese are going 3 times a day right now before the Olympics. This is January. We have 7 months left in our 7th year of this training. Ooh. So he said, if we want to beat Japan we need to go 3 times a day. So we're going to move you girls into the offices upstairs in the gym. And you're going to live here. We will eat over at this little restaurant over there, and we will train practically nonstop. So we did. We had a mattress on the floor.
Oh my God.
And we lived, And he just started to get very, very uptight. I think just the closer it came, it was like, oh my gosh, it was really stressful, but it was a beautiful gym. One day off, he let us paint the gym however we wanted, and we wanted a countdown calendar. So we went around the whole gym wall with a square. We measured it, and we figured out how many days were left. We made each square the same size, and we just did the numbers all the way down to 1 for the Olympic opening ceremonies. That's the day that we know we made it. And then we had all the others in gold, because that's all we talked about, go for gold. And so every day we talked how we made another step towards that gold medal. And it was so intense. It's hard to really explain, but you couldn't do it without each other. You couldn't do it without each other. And that's the biggest joy for all of us. We're sisters.
You are deeply connected for many reasons. Trauma, great times.
Yes, all of the above.
It seals the deal for sure. Yeah, I think I kind of remember those times as a coach that it was all about repetition, more. Just it was not so much of the rest, although athletic trainers did kind of try to get in there to go, hey, don't break them. But I think that was probably a pretty intense time for you.
Yeah.
So of your teammates, gosh, the famous folks, but there's one that I always, Flo, Rita, Debbie, and Julie Vollerson. She's from Nebraska. She's from, yes. I remember seeing her and wanting to recruit her to come play. But just that you guys were so close, and probably, I think I heard you once describe, the training part, but just how valuable all of you were to each other in learning the game and just getting better at the game. You're now in this role as a consultant with the Pro Volleyball Federation, and we're bringing together these amazing players from the U.S. and a few from international. We got coaches, and you're coaching pro women, which you don't have to go through some of the stuff you have to as a collegiate coach.
Right.
I'm guessing a lot of that is similar in terms of learning from each other, giving a little advice. Some of these folks have been around the league or playing professional for a lot of years. Right. Do you see that?
Yes.
As you're watching this first year get underway?
I do. That's a great observation, because I did AU, Athletes Unlimited, in 2022. And those were all pro athletes. They had come from other countries and had come over, but the model is so different. And it was not a coach. I was called a facilitator. And that it's where the girls are, there is a captain, and the captain makes the decision. It's to hand over to players a lot more of the power. So, I saw the practices that I wasn't in charge of making, unless they asked me to help. We were there, and the music's playing. They warm up for 30 minutes. Then they might get a ball out and kind of hit it around a little bit. I'm sitting there going, what? My teammates would just be going, what are they doing? And I kind of would giggle and go, anybody want to play defense? Or, oh, well, we're going to hit. And serve and pass was big, of course. But they did run it on their own, but also it didn't last very long. But in their defense, there's 3 matches a week. Right. So they are real, like, jump counts and touch count, everything. So I kind of said to my husband, who's coaching right now, I said, it's different. It's not college. They're not college players. You don't walk in and say, this is what, this is how it's going to work. This is what they don't respond. Mm-hmm. That's not how they're that's not how they're playing volleyball or working at volleyball any longer. And certainly some of the rookies are asking for those coaches that are coaching in PVF for, can I have extra time? Can you stay after with me and work on my platform or my, arm swing and give me reps? But in general, the practices are very much just 6-on-6 stuff and some serve receive work. Very chill. And those coaches that are not adjusting are, they're, I think they're learning quickly that the players will let you know, I'm done with practice today. They tell you when they're done. And we just would laugh at times and I'd say to my teammates, as we do reunions all the time, I go, can you imagine us walking up to Ari and saying, Ari, I think I'm done today. My shoulder's a little sore. It wasn't even in our brain at all to ever do anything like that, nor was it in any of our opponents either. Sure. That was just not volleyball back then. But it has become that. And I think what I've seen the coaches doing is just adjusting and finding ways. Look at San Diego team went from 2-6 start, and now they're in the Final Four. And Taiba and Dietra have just been amazing at that. And all the others too. It's just been really fun to watch the transformation kind of these teams over the season of PVF.
I think it's going to be really exciting, especially there in Omaha. There weren't many seats left.
These matches are going to be so amazing to watch, and get ready because I believe they'll go 5. I really do. I think over half of the matches already in the whole league play have gone to the down to the wire. So the parity is definitely there.
Yeah. So we're going to jump back for just a second in your career. And I think John, your husband, was a assistant coach in the 84 team. And then you two coached against each other. And then you did a lot of coaching, 25 years worth of coaching together at Texas A&M. What was that like? I mean, I don't know if you see too much or if you know even of anybody that's currently doing that. I didn't find anybody as I was kind of looking. You guys were a really special model there with that school.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I would really start off and say we met as players when he was on the 79 USA men's team that came to the training center in Colorado Springs. And on our one day off, we would all, six of them and six of our group would get together and go to the lake. And so then it dwindled down to three of them and three of us. And then it dwindled down to a note on my door saying, want to go to dinner. So we met as players.
I didn't mean to insinuate anything else.
No. But I love to say this because I will get people go, oh, I see it. That was not. So what happened was he went and coached at Nebraska after the 80 boycott. The men did not qualify, and Terry Pettit asked John to be his assistant. So he left and went to Nebraska and quit playing. And I kept playing through 84. Well, I was one of the older players. Flo was oldest, and then I was second oldest. And I sensed that Sullinger was long. I was getting to be 27. And John and I had been together for 4 years already, since 79. And he loved John. John would come and visit me, but he would be in practice as the Cuban outside hitter and hit at us the way that Maria Luis used to hit. And we could not stop her. So he became Maria Luis in practice. And he did a great job of it. And so all my teammates knew him. Ari knew him. And Ari said, when Toshi left in 1982, our assistant coach, Toshi Yoshida, had to go back to Japan. And he came to me and said, do you think John would like to come and be our new assistant in Toshi's place? Have Toshi train him how we train, how he trains you guys, and then have John be that person. And I said, I don't know. You can go for it and try it. So he did. And John came to the team and was my coach from 82, 83, 84. Wow. You know, of course, I accused him of making every drill harder for me. Like in a defense drill, he'd give little bitty tips to Sue Woodster. Here, Sue, and, tip right in her platform. And then Laurie, go chase this ball, and he's like, I did not, that's not how it worked. And really, I think it is. But we still joke about all that stuff. And, but then we got married in 86. And so we got to experience the Olympics together, which was really fun. However, the coaches don't get medals.
Oh, you don't?
So I share mine.
All right. Oh, okay.
Coaches don't get them. So mine is a shared medal. I'm happy to say. But then we married and I started coaching then. And when I started at USF. At USF for 4 years, Santa Clara for 3. And then Texas A&M called. And he was coaching at San Jose State. So I coached against him for Santa Clara, San Jose State. But one of my favorite stories, real quick, USF was my 3rd year of coaching, my 4th year of coaching, 89. Okay. And John was the assistant coach at San Jose State. I was up at USF, an hour north. So I did the commute for 4 years.
Wow.
One day, Dick Montgomery, the head coach at San Jose State, had scheduled with me a match for his team to come up to my team. And so they were on that morning, John called me and said, Laurie, I'll be bringing the team. Dick is sick today. So I'm going to be bringing the team. We're going to get there about 5. I said, okay, well, we have a little cafe. You guys can get pregame bagels or whatever. And come to my office and let me know when y'all get here. He arrives with the team, comes to say, we're here, goes to get bagels. And the building shook, the lights went out, and the earthquake hit at 514.
Oh my God.
And I went from one side of my office to the other. It threw me across the room, held onto my desk, but it was moving across the office. And that night, that was God's way of saying, you two do not go head to head. Do not go head to head. So we learned our lesson. Obviously, we didn't have that match, that play. It didn't get played. But anyway, when we decided, we had a baby, and it's Rachel in 91. And I had since gone to Santa Clara, which was a lot closer to San Jose State. He had the better job in terms of financial, what he would make his income. So I got the job at Santa Clara, and we did schedule each other once, and it went 5 and he won, but I had 4 scholarships, four full rides. So I always use that as my excuse. And then we had Rachel, and she was born 33 years ago today.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And we loved it, but we knew it was going to be easier if we were on the same team. So when A&M opened, we applied, and Lisa Love called me and said, Laurie, I have talked to A&M, and I've suggested your name, made a recommendation for you. And they invited us on a visit, and the rest is history. We made the move. But we decided to coach together. We had a lot of long conversations about it before. We tried to put ourselves in scenarios of all kinds of things, and we had to make a commitment that we were going to work through those things. And it was not easy, and I don't recommend it personally, because all staffs have a lot of deep discussions, to be honest, like philosophy, way to approach it. And the head coach has to make the decision. That's their job. And so as Laurie, wanting to hear from John what he thought, because his experiences were so different than mine, and he's such a great coach. And I mean, that's what we do. We have to listen. But if I didn't do what he thought, we had to learn to adjust to that. And then I got told you so. Well, okay, maybe once, twice, or 100 times. But also, you just had to have confidence in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and had to know that they're just going to have to support you no matter what, your assistants. And we came home. We had another kid later in 94. And so those two were in the gym all the time. And we had to make that work, because it was our family. It was A&M that was just what we were going to do. And the kids and we had a nanny and her husband that didn't live with us. We couldn't have done it without them. I do have family in Texas, but they lived 3 hours away, and that they couldn't change their life. My mom was still teaching music and loving her life in Dallas. I was not about to ask her to come here. So we hired a couple that were Mimi and Papa, and that was their names, and it's still their names. Yeah. So it was so phenomenal, but I don't recommend it.
It's sort of tough. Compete against each other, work with each other. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm kind of thinking also that you've got those two little gym rats that were on that volleyball are both coaching volleyball. So your entire family is volleyball. So what's that like? You guys talk volleyball all the time? Is it, what goes on with that?
I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I completely forgot about volleyball. But to be honest, they don't, when they call us, maybe Russell will call John and talk about some things. When I talk to Russ, it's usually about his kid. I have a new grandson. Grandma. And sometimes if it's volleyball, a lot of times it's more management, team management, like players talking to play, that stuff. Or he's really good at a lot of the technology now. And so is Rachel. They're just in a different world. And so if I have questions about statistics, because, for example, with PVF, we were talking about, what should we do for player of the year? All these, the awards given, and how much do we lean on the statistics of all of that discussion. And I got to run it by Russell and Rachel, they're both so knowledgeable in that area. and Volley Station and all the volley, all the new technology. It's a little over my head, but the way they explain it to me helped a lot.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I don't like the fact they go head to head in the SEC.
Oh,
I just don't
I
like
didn't think about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And Russell's program at Vanderbilt doesn't begin competition until 2025. Okay. So Rachel's at Auburn, and they did play against each other, Auburn, Missouri, in 2022. And that was during the schedule where it was home. You played two times, Friday, Saturday. And Rachel had to go to Missouri that year in 2022. And they were ranked, Auburn was in the top, and Missouri was like 1 in 10. And so Auburn went in and wins the first match, like 3-0, I think. Now there's another one to play. And Missouri's like, we're not letting Rachel's team beat Russell's team. So they went out and they beat Auburn. And Rachel, the most competitive in our whole family is my daughter, Auburn, the Auburn assistant. And she comes walking out, arms crossed. And I said, honey, I'm sorry about that. She goes, Mom, they never played like that on any video I ever watched. They just wanted to beat me. I said, Rachel, no, Mom, they wanted to beat us so bad for Russell. And so it was so funny. I knew she was going to be like that. And a lot of it was playful. But, that I just didn't enjoy it as a mom because I just don't like them having to.
It's tough. Right.
It's just, we're all so competitive. I don't want anybody. I wouldn't even play my teammates when I was coaching. I did not want to schedule them because you're trying to all get as many wins as you can. And that would mean someone was going to get a loss. And I didn't want my best friends to get losses, or me. Oh, yeah. So anyway, it's just that, but they handle it better than I do. I just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. I said something to Kathy DeBoer about you. I said, I don't know Laurie very well. I always admired Laurie. I always thought that you and John were such a power volleyball couple and just so many cool things going on. But I said to Kathy, I said, she's a little bit sneaky competitive. Laurie is a little bit sneaky competitive. And maybe that's...
I like that. I like that.
I mean, calm,
I think
but look out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of me. I didn't know, I think, as a young player in high school, I didn't want to be perceived as distant and, oh, well, she's just, volleyball. I didn't want to come off as cocky. I didn't want to come off as, I just wanted people to get, and I was already the tallest girl in the school, which can be intimidating for a lot of people. At that
time, actually, it was kind of a challenging thing for really tall women.
Yeah, right. And then I'm on the volleyball court and our color is green. And so my green uniform, I'm the Jolly Green Giant. I've had nicknames and I thought, I'm just Laurie, you just got to handle it. You just got to do, you got to, and my dad and mom were so incredibly supportive and just Laurie, you got to just do your thing. The encouragement it took to get me to open up and really acknowledge that I did have some God-given talent, a little bit at least, some that I could maybe grow and see what I could do. But I did not want to be a cocky, look how great I am. I never believed that. And so one of the biggest challenges was confidence, trying to get my confidence. Yeah.
You were so impressive. So if you were to give younger players or even parents, I mean, you got quite an interesting take on all things here. For players, things are so different now for the kids in, the junior league area, the high school, and then even in college. What kinds of things would you say to them?
I love what I did after retirement. I took a course called Sports Life Coaching, and I became a sports life coach. So the vernacular, all the discussions that you have with someone you're visiting with or a team you're talking to is using words like what is your desired outcome? What, instead of goal, let's set a goal. What is your desired outcome? What are our strategies here? How are we going to be emotionally ready, mentally ready, physically ready? I mean, and so it goes on and on and on. But I loved that so much of it is about self-talk, and that you don't talk to anyone else in your life more than you talk to yourself. And so what we end up showing the world is who we think we are. And so many players want to accuse the coach of not believing in them. But a lot of times you have to believe in yourself enough to show the coach that you're worthy of being believed in, and that you're not worthy it so much as just, are you able to help yourself and develop your confidence by your self-talk and what and so I don't know. I just encourage them all the time to have a strategy when they enter the gym on, one thing that is their desired outcome for the day. For example, today I'm going to make sure I pat myself on the back, even if it's just virtual or whatever you call it, I'm thinking it when I am able to move on to the next play immediately after a mistake. I mean, watching golfers, all of that. And I'm going to say, next ball, no big deal, and one of my players, Stacy Sikora, 4-time Olympian.
Yes.
The first libero USA ever had. I coached her in college at A&M, and then she went to the USA team. And she said, I became an Olympian when I missed a free ball. A free ball went over the net that I sent to the setter, and it went over the net. And the next hour, I had coach on one. I had to get 1,000 balls up, 100 at a time, and then I got a break. And her knee pads were bloody. This was Toshi Yoshida running the drill. And he said, Stacy, you want to figure out how to not make that kind of mental mistake? Let's go. And he did. It took about an hour, teammates helping, encouraging, but she was the one all over the gym. And she said after that, it kind of broke her into the thought, like, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. And because she used to just when she'd mess up, she'd beat herself up, and then her game went down. And he said, no, you've got to be a lot tougher than that, a lot more believing in yourself. I'll show you, you can do it. And she had to get up 1,000 balls. And she tells that story when she goes to visit or to talk with teams. But I think when I talk with athletes now, that's one of the main things is just, you won't be put in a drill like that these days. My coach would be fired. You would, it would not happen. However, you have to take that responsibility as an athlete to find a way to find out how to help yourself, the way you talk to yourself. And it's not just volleyball, it's in life, obviously. And so just any resources you can come up with, books and podcasts and coaches that you get to meet. I've had some discussions with some of these PVF professionals and, what it's like to now be almost at the end of the season and how's the team doing? Does the team feel united? Do you have a good leader? Do you have a leader? Well, kind of, we think it's this, you can't, you got to know. And so I think it's like, be resourceful and be willing to admit what you need and what you see missing in the team or in yourself, and find a way to make that happen, because it's not impossible. It's not, and no one's going to do it if you don't. If someone's got to get it started, someone has to light that important fire or that important, part of the team, because it's going to come down to the team. Yeah. It's going to come down to the team, and it's probably going to come down to, for this $1 million of this match, whoever wins the Final Four next week, it's a lot's going to be how that team is that day. Yeah. That day, locked in, united. I still don't believe our 84 team in the gold medal match was as united as we were the rest of the time, the rest of that tournament. We were undefeated going in the gold
I remember.
match. We beat China. We beat East Germany. We beat Peru. We beat Brazil 5 sets. I missed a serve, like right at the end of the match. I missed my serve. Got subbed in for Flo Hyman, one of the best servers on our team. And he looked down and goes, "Laurie, go in." I'm like, what? So I go in and I missed it long. And I went back out and I was so mad at myself. But then I thought, we still won. Who cares? We won. That's all I cared about. But our team did not perform up to our ability on the gold medal night. And I believe there was some discord between just some things that had gone on that day. That day. We beat China. We were number 1 in the world with China all the time. And we beat them 4 nights earlier, 3-1. And we did not perform up to our ability. And it was a battle out there. It was a struggle. And it's hard to really put our finger on what it was, but we could have the gold medal, which is what we talked about. And so we're still proud of our silver, but we always say, well, it is filled with gold.
Yes, there you go.
That's what we have to remember.
I'm good friends with Zhou Shilan, the middle blocker for China. Yes. Actually, her husband coached with me at Maryland for a number of years, her ex-husband.
Wow.
And now we run a club together out here, and I absolutely love her. And, that I remember watching that game, and I kind of remember her, and I remember Paula Weishoff. And I remember it felt like you guys were battling China, but you were also battling here. And I'm like, oh, get over it.
Ourselves. Yes. Yes.
I think the things you're talking about for the young players now in terms of the self-talk. And another piece that goes with that is don't be afraid to make mistakes, because just go for it. That's the only way you're going to, get to that next step.
Oh, I love that, Janice, because I remember as a coach saying to players, I don't care if you hit the guy in the 8th row. If you're not going for it, you don't have a chance. And only then will you figure out that how to adjust that swing or adjust that shot. And so encouraging players to go for it is so important from a coaching standpoint. Yeah. And they're going to make mistakes, and miss serves, some coaches just have little tantrums on the sideline with miss serves and stuff. And these days when it's not side out scoring, it is very stressful. And I just think from a coaching standpoint, it's so important to make sure your players know your philosophy on all of that, because man, the words don't, and the words, not, those negative words, they are like 20 times louder than any words that are positive.
That's true.
For all of us female athletes, I believe in a major way, when we're trying to please, we're trying to be out there doing our best, blah, blah, blah. We need to hear the positive.
Yeah. I had my high school coach called me yesterday, and he does on occasion, and he can rattle off things that have been forever. And I don't remember. I try to. And one of the things he told me yesterday, I got a huge kick out of, is that, he was always kind of strategizing. And this wasn't when I was playing, but after I was playing, they were playing a team and they were down 12-4. And he calls timeout, last timeout. And he goes, you know who's in trouble? And they're like, we are. He goes, no, they are. And isn't that cool? Isn't that great? That. And they went back, they marched back out and they won that silly game. And I got the biggest kick out of that. The stories that precious. Everybody can tell about certain things. You don't remember necessarily plays or this and that as much, but the interaction, the connection, and maybe some of the laughter and just the hard work are truly fun. And I want to thank you today for sharing this, because you do have an incredible story. And I do hope that you and Cecile sometime write a book about this journey of creating this league from scratch. And because I said a lot of us don't know anything about a professional team, like any part of that. And you guys have inside scoop on this, not necessarily the business side, but the rest of it that all the volleyball people love to hear. So I thank you for everything today and appreciate you jumping on, and I hope you guys have a great time next week. And I guess you have maybe a little plug for Supernova since John's coaching that team, or no, maybe you can't say. Okay, no.
I try to be as neutral as I can, and I'm ready for him to come home. So. But thank you so much, Janice, for having me. I love talking about this stuff. Of course, you can tell I don't stop hardly, but it just brings up so much. I mean, I've been on the verge of tears several times in the last hour with some of the things that I got to share, and I really treasure these kinds of talks and these moments to get to recall and share those things. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad we get to share it with our Side Out Foundation Dig Pink folks, and they're going to have a blast hearing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.